Hi, James from engVid. No Mr. E, just me. Rhymes. Beautiful. Anyway, different location as you can see, and I don't have Mr. E with me, which is unfortunate. What was that? See that? That's cool. That you can't get with a whiteboard. Anyway, this is another video. I call them learning processes, where I may not be teaching you English directly, but this can be applied to any subject, but specifically English. I'm trying to make it that way. And this lesson is called Two Sides of the Same Coin. And what I'm going to teach you is about how embarrassment, learning to let go of embarrassment, or allowing yourself to be embarrassed, and learning how to relax, how they're kind of joined together, and how if you learn to master these two, you can learn to master English. Okay? Now, before I do that, I'm going to do what's called a test-retest. And what I do with these test-retests, we're going to see where you are, and then at the end of the class, we'll do the same thing to see if something has changed by the end of the class. So that means you actually learned something. I kind of like this concept, and I think you will too. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take 1 minute, and this is a 1 minute test-retest. We're going to do some breathing. We're going to do this 3 times. I'm going to explain how you do it, and I want you to pay attention. So I'm going to count. We're going to breathe in for 7 seconds, and you're going to breathe out for 11 seconds. So that will be inhalation for 7, exhalation for 11. We'll do it 3 times, and then we're going to see how you feel. So take 10 seconds right now, close your eyes, and just see how you feel. Do you feel stressed, relaxed, whatever's going on? Just take 10 seconds. I'm going to look at the pretty flowers. Okay, so you have an idea how you feel? Let's do this now. Well, we'll wait a couple more seconds. Got that happy dog. Happy thoughts. All right, so inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say to yourself, relax. Got it? And again, inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Excuse me. Exhale. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say the word, relax. Last time. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Forgot to tell you to close your eyes. You can redo that again if you wish, but make sure your eyes are closed. You should be opening your eyes. How do you feel? Feel the same? Feel less stress? From 1 to 10, how did you feel at the beginning? 1 to 10, how do you feel now? You should notice a difference. That takes 1 minute, okay? And we've changed how you are actually feeling. That's all it takes, a little bit of breathing, a little bit of time, okay? Once again, if that was, want to try that again? Remember how we took a couple of seconds to see how we felt? Usually give yourself between a number 1 to 10, stressed, not stressed, right? Then what you do is do that breathing. You can I gave it to you so you can follow it right along. Then afterwards, open your eyes, see how you feel. That's our test-retest, which we'll be coming back to at the end of the class. Now, let's get to two sides of the same coin. Why is this lesson important? When students don't embrace the idea of a little bit of embarrassment in order to learn, or don't learn how to relax, and you probably noticed what I did with you at the beginning of this class, it makes it difficult for them to learn. So I'm going to give you some strategies or tips to eliminate these two problems, or to help you access relaxation so that you can learn faster and maybe actually make this whole thing fun. So let's take a look at the ideas of the two sides of the same coin. I'm going to start off with the embarrassment. Master the art of being embarrassed. That's a tough one. No one likes being embarrassed. And in case you don't know what that means, it's being put in a position where you feel uncomfortable. You don't feel confident. All right? Most of us avoid this at all times, but we don't realize that that's a place of growth. Embarrassment can be good because you're in a place that you're not comfortable, and you can learn to be comfortable and learn something from that situation. Now, this happens usually for two reasons. One we call ego, and ego is yourself, how you feel about yourself, like that, who I am and everything I am, and that ego likes to be right and correct. The other I call like tribe, or I call it the group. So it's like yourself versus the group. Ego works, well, let's start with the tribe. The tribe is the scary one. When you're embarrassed in front of the tribe, it means you've done something wrong. Now you might go, well, why does this have to do with tribe? And tribe means a group of people, and usually our tribe now, we live in cities, so the tribes aren't the same. But a long time ago, we used to live with tribes of 20 or 30 people. And if you did something wrong, something horrible would happen. It was called being ostracized. And it meant they would take you and kick you out of the tribe. Now today, you don't think about this, because back then, you had to hunt with the tribe. The tribe kept you alive. They made the fire, you made the buildings, you stayed together. If you ostracized and on your own, you had to do everything by yourself. No, ladies and gentlemen, there was no Amazon at the time. You couldn't, I'm good. I'm Amazon, bring me my, no. You had to kill something by yourself and hope you didn't get killed. The numbers meant something. So keeping that in mind, being embarrassment, you've done something wrong that might get you kicked out of the tribe. That's a very scary thing. That's why with a lot of people, going up to see somebody new, like meeting a new person or someone that they like and talking, they get all nervous, because our ancestors would get nervous. If they made a mistake, that could be the end of them. That's what happens. So we got to look at it this way and think it's not a silly fear that you don't want to be embarrassed by asking a question in class. It's not a silly fear that you don't want to talk to people and, strangers, and try and use your English. That's your ancestral roots, or ancestors, people before you, family before, generations, saying this could be a dangerous situation. You got to be careful. But let's look at that. This is the 20th century. This isn't 5,000, 10,000 years ago. So this fear of being ostracized is kind of in the 20th century, it's a phantom. And a phantom is like a ghost. Because I was joking, but I wasn't. Right now, if half of Toronto didn't like me, I would just stay home. Actually, even better, if we had something called a disease, a major disease that shut down the world, I could stay at home, call Amazon. Hopefully they'll still be around when this video comes out. And I could order my food, order my books, order anything I need to be brought to me. I don't need a tribe. I don't need a tribe. I have a car. I don't need a tribe. I have a cell phone. I don't need a tribe. So this fear that we have is from something in the past that would have killed us to be alone. Most of us now live in states where we're alone, so we can start letting go of that fear. Okay, that's one thing to keep in mind. You won't be alone. You won't be ostracized. The other thing about, as I said, the first thing is your fear of being ostracized. The second thing we talked about when we talk about embarrassment is ego. Okay, so what's the ego? That's the individual thing. And the problem with the ego is this. Your ego makes you want to always be right, and that's a good thing. No, not really. If it's helping you be right, that's good. If you always want you to be right, that's not such a good thing. When we talk about the ego in this case, the problem with the ego is it keeps you blind. And two things happen from that. You don't know if you are actually getting better. Because if you're always right, you don't know if you're wrong. And how can you improve? There's a difference between the gap between what you don't know and what you do know. So sometimes your ego says, yeah, I'm right. I don't have to study. I don't have to look at it, right? That's the embarrassment thing. You say, I know everything. I don't need to know more. You don't need to talk to me, because you don't want to be embarrassed and admit you don't know. That's your ego. And it gets away of two things: your progress, how you can improve. If you're improving, are you improving? Are you getting better? Because if you know everything, you don't need to improve, right? And where you really are. Are you advanced, or are you a beginner? You don't know. And your ego doesn't allow you to really get a good hold of that, because you might be embarrassed and find out you're not as good as you thought you were, or you're not as far as ahead, but you can't track it. So what we want to do is we want to look at that thing about being embarrassed, and we want to embrace it. Embrace it means like hold it and hold on to it. There is one thing I did forget, and I'm sorry about that, when I was talking about being kicked out of the tribe. Risk and reward, which is very important. Once we get past, when we're talking about being embarrassed and being kicked out of the tribe or ostracized, right? You got to remember, if you want to get anything in life, it's a risk. You got to put yourself out there. And when you put yourself out there, you could fall or you could fly. It's a risk, but there's reward. Okay? So let's back that back up to the ego. I'm sorry, I wanted to make sure I put that in there, because sometimes when we forget things like that, we don't strive, or strive means to work towards something. We don't try as hard as we should. Anyway, so the second part of the coin, what we're talking about, is relaxation and the importance of relaxation. And I'll tie to the two at the end, and you'll see why I'm doing this. Learning to relax, because embarrassment, okay, I'll get to that. It's like, when you learn to relax, a few things happen that make learning much easier. Number one, you get more energy. What happens is when you're tense and you're stressed out, your muscles are all tight. That restricts or stops the movement of blood through your body. When you're relaxed, the blood can move better. When the blood moves better, it actually brings more energy to your body and more oxygen, so your brain works better and you feel better. That's going to make studying easier. That's why we want to get into a relaxation mode. Once again, you're going to go back to the first minute of classes. Yeah, test, retest, right? Try to teach you some relaxation. So you get more energy. That's one of the things. What's the second thing that happens? Well, your focus increases. How does my focus increase when I'm relaxed? That makes no sense. Well, let me explain. When we use the trick of, not the trick, but we use the method or skill of meditation, what that does is it helps us create a more efficient and effective brain. A bit of science here. Neural pathways, these are the things how the brains connect. So this is your brain, so this is the cell, and it has little fingers come out. Neural pathways start connecting and they get stronger and better. And they can communicate better, so your brain works more effectively and efficiently. By working on meditation like mindfulness meditation, the brain actually gets better at thinking. So it's easier to learn because you have more connections, so you can process more information. Pretty cool, huh? And you thought you were taking a nap in school, not doing anything right. Shame on that teacher for saying that to you. All right? So we get more energy, better connections. The third thing that happens when you are relaxed and it comes to learning is that we let go of fear. Okay? You cannot be fearful and relaxed at the same time. Do you remember I said I was going to tie embarrassment with relaxation? Well, embarrassment, you're kind of fearful, right? Well, when you're relaxed, it's the opposite. You can't be both. So if you're relaxed, you can't really feel that fear or embarrassment, which will allow you to go through the process of learning. Not bad, right? So by being relaxed, we get more energy to study. We're much more efficient. And I forgot one more that's really important. Less stress. Notice I didn't say no stress. I said less stress. When we're embarrassed, that's a high level of stress, and that's a problem because it stops us from learning. And why does that happen? When you have a high level of stress, the brain has too much information going on, so you can't take in new information readily. So memory is poor, and learning skills are poor because you can't take that in, okay? You can't remember it because you can't take it in. When you are relaxed, and we talk about relaxation through meditation and whatnot, well, less stress means there's the emotional, okay, I should be careful, make sure I get this to you. Notice I said less stress, not no stress. You have to have a little stress. That stress that you have is emotional and not bad emotion. When we have emotion, we tend to remember things. Remember your last birthday when you were 12? And you're not 12 anymore, you remember. You were happy. Emotions help us glue memories. So when we lessen our stress, that we go from that embarrassed, crazed state and come down a little bit, but we allow a little bit of stress for our emotions to come in so we can help remember, and that's what relaxation does. It gets you relaxed so you can feel those emotions, your memories stay. Why is this important? Learning is memory. So if your memory's sticking, what you've just been learning sticks. So if in the classroom and you're relaxed, you can actually take in what the teacher's saying to you a lot better and keep it. Or if you're watching a video, some of you comment that I make jokes. Every once in a while, I get the German who says, "Stop the joking, just be serious, yeah?" I'm like, whatever, you're watching it. No, I'm not joking. Actually, German students are great. Thank you very much. You guys make some of the best comments. I tell the jokes, so now you'll know. Because if you giggle or laugh, or even you're like, oh, what a dumb joke, I got an emotional response. You're going to remember when you tell your friend, and then he stops and he says this joke in the middle of teaching me the grammar point about the... You remembered. That's my point. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about relaxation, and I've tied it together with embarrassment. Remember I said when we relax, we lessen the stress. Embarrassment is too much stress. It makes it hard for us to learn. We lessen that stress so we can let the emotional content come in to help us remember, make our memories better, learn easier. And remember this, we talked about getting more energy, yeah? And better focus. Putting those two together, we're able to learn better. And that's what I was talking about, enhancing their learning process. And I gave you a tool you're going to use. Now, I want to do that test retest since we've done this lesson. We're going to go back to the breathing. And let's just see, now that you know how to do it and I've explained it, we're going to test and retest, see if it changes your state. So take 5 seconds now. You can look at the nice little plumage here, or the nice little plants. Okay? And take the time to see how you feel right now. How relaxed. Give yourself a number between 1 and 10. Okay. That's the takeoff, because I'm about to give you your numbers now. Are you ready? So let's start the relaxation process. Remember, eyes closed. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Last one. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Open your eyes. How do you feel now? It's 1 minute. Only 1 minute. See how your state has changed, or how your mind and your body have changed. Okay, that's our test retest. Good. Now, teaching you all this stuff is great, but then you're going to say, so how do I use it? What am I going to use it for? Well, I'm going to give you 2 tips. This is your homework in order to take what we've done in this class and put it into practice to help you get better at learning English. Notice how I said that was a 1 minute relaxation. You can use that same 1 minute relaxation before you start studying English to get you into that state where you're more focused, feel more energy, okay, and you lessen the stress so you can study better. Sounds like a woodpecker. Woody woodpecker. Yeah, you can go watch the stuff afterwards. What's he talking about, Woody woodpecker? Anyway, so before you study, do the 1 minute, it's not test retest, it's a relaxation technique. To make it even stronger, do this 3 times a day for 30 days. For the next 30 days, just randomly sit down, breathe in and out 3 times a day. That's 3 minutes of your life. Okay? I'm not asking for very much. And also at the same time, just before you study English, do it again. You'll find that pretty soon when you said that magic word relax, you're just going to drop like a stone, which is what we want, getting you into the perfect zone to learn. Now, what about the embarrassment thing, James? You gave me all this bad news and good news about it. Well, I have a solution for that too. There was a guy who did 40 days of rejection or 100 days of rejection. I forgot his name in his book. Sorry, I'll have to remember sometime, or maybe you'll look it up. Anyway, what he did was he went through 100 days looking for rejection. He would go to places to purposely get people to say no. I'm not that mean to you, but while you're doing your 30 days of relaxation, because you're going to need it, I'm going to suggest you go out of your way for 30 days and you go to get rejected. What? Yeah, I'm telling you, go to McDonald's, walk up and go, "Hi, McDonald's, can I get a Burger King special?" Get out of here, no, and then leave. Now, here's the key to this. I want you to, after a while, go, why? And they go, well, this isn't Burger King. You'll start finding after about the first 10 days, you don't die when people say no or they say leave or whatever. You just don't die. And when you say why, some of them will actually explain it to you. And you'll start noticing that rejection doesn't bother you. So that whole thing about the tribe and the ego won't bother you so much. And you'll realize when you say why, it's not usually personally about you. So it won't be bothering you because it's not your ego. It won't be rejected from the tribe, so you don't have to worry about that. And then we're doing the relaxation technique, and you're going to start finding that you don't mind. And that's also going to help you when you're doing your English. You won't mind if you don't do so well, or being embarrassed asking that question in the classroom, or asking the teacher something, or talking to a stranger. Yeah, go out there. Go talk to some stranger in the street and go up and go, hey, do you mind if I borrow $500? When they go, no, they go, why? I don't know you. Okay, that's cool. I got that. I wouldn't either. Totally different attitude than, oh my gosh, they're going to say, what are they going to do to you? Kill you? No. In most cases, they're going to look at you and laugh, and that's it. And you'll notice each time, whoop, I'm still alive. Okay. And then it's going to become a natural state for you. If you like the experiment enough, don't do it for 30 days, do it for 100, and I'll give you a little hint. Mark off 100 days in your calendar, start at the 100th day and knock it off. By the time that's done, you're going to forget that I even mentioned this to you, and it's just going to be the new natural you. So this isn't just about English, I guess, I know, but if you apply this for English, you're going to get amazing results. If you apply it on other things, you're going to get even better results. Anyway, I gave you your homework, I gave you your test, retest, gave you your lesson. Hope you like these learning process videos. We'd like to do more of them. Just let us know. Just do not ask us to do it between November 15th and not February, March 20th. It's cold in Canada. You want to see me die? You want to see me die for this? I'm not going to die for this, but I love you, so I'll do more, okay? Anyway, listen, it's been a pleasure, but before I go, I need you to go to www.ing as in English, vid as in video.com. Go look at the more the learning process. I believe Alex has one up there. A few others will have them. They're great videos, along with our normal English sets, so you can apply the techniques we give you here to the other videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next videos. Anyway, enjoy the scenery. I love it out here. Ciao.